In the ancient kingdom of Oyo, there lived a diligent farmer named Adewale. With hands roughened by years of toiling beneath the scorching sun, he worked tirelessly to provide for his only child, Ife. She was the light of his life, the last gift from his beloved wife, who had tragically died, bringing her into the world. From the moment he cradled his motherless daughter in his trembling arms, Adewale vowed to protect her from every sorrow the world might cast her way. He filled their humble home with love, teaching Ife the values of hard work, humility, and respect. Yet, as the years passed, a shadow crept into their simple, peaceful life. Ife, no longer the bright-eyed child who once marveled at her father's stories of the gods and ancestors, became restless. Her heart hungered for the allure of the distant city, where music, laughter, and promise sparkled like forbidden jewels. She longed to trade the dust of the fields for the smooth, shining stones of the city streets. Each market day, as merchants arrived with tales of the city's wonders, Eve felt a fire ignite within her. A life beyond the farm called to her. A life of freedom, adventure, and the unknown. Adewale noticed the change in her. The once soft melodies she hummed while helping him now turned to sighs heavy with longing. She lingered at the edge of the village, watching the horizon as if waiting for something or someone to whisk her away. Fear gnawed at his heart. He had already lost his wife. He could not bear to lose his daughter to a world he knew could be both dazzling and cruel. One evening, as the golden sun dipped below the horizon, Adewale confronted her. Ife, my child, why does your heart drift so far from home? His voice trembled with both love and dread. Ife, tears brimming in her eyes, replied, Father, I love you, but my spirit cannot be caged. I must find my own path. And in that fragile moment, the bond between father and daughter hung in the balance, caught between love and the inevitable call of destiny. Despite her father's stern warnings and the weight of his disappointment, Ife often slipped away to the bustling city with her friends. The lure of the city lights, the music drifting through the air, and the promise of freedom were too intoxicating to resist. Her hands, rough from endless chores, ached for a softer life, a world beyond the quiet, predictable rhythms of the village. Each stolen visit to the city whispered to her restless spirit, and with every return home, the walls of her father's house felt smaller. tighter, a cage she could no longer endure. One sweltering afternoon, with the sun casting molten gold across the market stalls, Eve's life changed forever. Among the throngs of merchants and shouting hawkers, a man stood apart. He was draped in fine silk, his fingers heavy with jeweled rings that caught the light like fire. His voice was smooth, promising, and when he spoke to Eve, it was as though the world around her melted away. He spoke of grand mansions, of silken dresses and servants who would cater to her every whim. For the first time, someone saw her not as a burden or a wayward child, but as someone who deserved beauty, comfort, and freedom. The promise burrowed deep into her heart, igniting a yearning she could no longer suppress. That night, while the village slept under the hush of moonlight, Eve made her choice. With trembling hands, she packed what little she could carry and stole into the night, leaving behind the only home she had ever known. She did not leave a note. She did not look back. And as the distant city lights beckoned her forward, she told herself that she would never again be a prisoner of poverty and beauty, no matter the cost. For months, Adewale searched tirelessly, his voice raw from calling her name through dense forests and distant villages. Day after day, he pushed forward, his heart heavy with fear. The sun scorched his back by day, and the cold gnawed at his bones by night. Each false lead cut deeper, fraying his hope, but still he would not stop. His once dark hair grew streaked with silver, his face hollowed by sleepless nights and the ache of an empty home. Yet, in every whispered rumor and shadowed path, he clung to the belief that Ife was waiting somewhere. While Adewale battled despair, Ife faced a nightmare of her own. The trader who had taken her was no savior. He was a tyrant. Gone were the days of laughter and warmth. Now, her hands bled from endless labor. Each dawn brought new burdens, scrubbing floors until her fingers cracked, fetching water until her legs trembled. The trader's voice, sharp and unforgiving, haunted her every step. Eve's spirit burned with defiance, but the heavy chains of her captivity threatened to break her. At night, she lay on the cold, hard ground, tears staining her cheeks as she whispered Adewale's name into the dark, hoping he would somehow hear her. Adewale grew thinner with every passing week, but his resolve never wavered. He combed through crowded markets, questioned wary strangers, and searched where others had long given up. The image of Ives' smile haunted him, bright and full of life, a memory that pushed him beyond exhaustion. Somewhere, she was waiting, and he would tear the world apart to bring her home. And as Ives' hope began to fade, a distant voice calling her name pierced the air, hoarse, broken, but familiar. She froze, heart pounding. Could it be? Could he have finally found her? The wind howled through the empty streets as she stumbled forward, her breath ragged and shallow. Blood trickled from a gash above her brow, her once proud frame reduced to a trembling shadow of itself. Each step sent pain searing through her body, but she couldn't stop. Not now. Not when home was so close. The moon hung cold and distant, casting pale light on her torn dress and bruised skin. She had fought her way free, leaving behind the nightmare that had held her captive. But every heartbeat echoed with a single prayer. Let me make it home, please. At last, the familiar gate creaked under her touch. Her frozen fingers fumbled to push it open. The house stood still and silent, its windows dark, as if the life had been drained from within. Fear coiled in her stomach. She rushed to the door, tears blurring her vision. Father! Her voice cracked as she burst inside, her heart pounding. Silence, a silence so heavy it pressed against her chest. The fire had burned out, leaving only cold ash. Panic surged as she moved through the house, calling his name. Then she found him. He lay in his chair, the lines of his face deeper than she remembered. His hands, once strong and steady, rested limp in his lap. Waves of exhaustion had stolen the warmth from his skin. She fell to her knees, clutching his hand in hers, but it was too late. His eyes, which once held pride and love, were closed forever. A broken sob tore from her throat as she collapsed against him, the anguish unbearable. She had escaped her captors. She had survived the unthinkable, but she had come home too late to save the one who mattered most.